Welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're exploring a seriously fascinating intersection between ancient storytelling and modern game design. We're going to discover exactly how legendary mythology can level up the way we handle cursed items in tabletop RPGs. We'll be looking at some of the most famous legendary swords from history and myth, dissecting how they work as narrative devices, and then, the best part, applying those exact lessons directly to your game table. Let's get into it. Okay, let's dive into this. Have your players ever felt completely cheated by a cursed item? You know the drill. You introduce what seems like this amazing magical artifact. The player uses it, and then bam! A curse hits them right out of nowhere. Suddenly, the player feels totally gotchioed. It's incredibly frustrating, right? It can literally deflate the energy of an entire session. But it doesn't have to be this way. To fix it, we first have to ask ourselves a fundamental question about our game design. Is the curse you're introducing a trap, or is it a cost?
Because think about it. If a cursed item is just a way for the dungeon master to go, "Surprise, you just got pranked, bro," well, your players are probably not going to enjoy it. Take the classic potion of poison that's disguised as a potion of healing. When a player uses it to try and save their dying buddy, it's just a pure trap. It actively punishes the player for simply engaging with the game. It treats the curse as a mean-spirited prank rather than an actually interesting narrative tool.
Section 1. Mythological Swords of Doom. To really understand how to do curses right, we need to look back at how ancient history and legendary tales handled them.
Enter Tyrfing. So, according to the Norse Hervarar saga, King Svafrlami, who was actually a grandson of Odin, managed to trap these two dwarves, Dvalin and Joran, right outside their rock dwelling. He basically forced them to forge this magnificent sword with a golden hilt. It was designed to never miss a stroke, never rust, and cut through stone and iron as easily as clothing. The dwarves obeyed, creating this stunning blade that shone and gleamed like fire. But out of deep resentment for being trapped and forced into this labor, they cursed the shining blade.
And the specifics of their curse? Absolutely brutal. The dwarves decreed that Tyrfing would kill a man every single time it was drawn. No exceptions. It literally could not be sheathed until it was bathed in warm blood. Plus, it was destined to be the death of King Svafrlami himself, and it would be the direct cause of 3 great evils. What we're seeing here is a sword with intense narrative agency. It offers absolute, guaranteed victory on the battlefield, but at the steep cost of eventual, inescapable doom for whoever wields it.
Let's move to and see how this builds into a generational tragedy. Tyrfing's first great evil deed happens at Samso, where the champion Helmar is fatally wounded by the blade. It only leaves him enough time to sing his own death song. Fast forward, the sword is passed down until it reaches Heidrek. In this really tragic moment, Heidrek unsheaths the blade just to show his brother Angantyr, but because of the curse, the sword forces Heidrek to slay his own brother. That's the second evil deed. Finally, Heidrek is murdered in his sleep by a group of vengeful thralls who want the sword for themselves, completing the third great evil. This curse wasn't a cheap prank. It was a sprawling, generational tragedy.
But hey, this concept isn't just limited to Norse myths. Consider the ipetam. It's a supernatural cursed sword found in the folklore of the Ainu people of Hokkaido. It briefly yet powerfully demonstrates that the concept of a doomed blade, a weapon that brings terrible consequences to its wielder, is a universal trope spanning across incredibly diverse ancient cultures. We are just naturally drawn to the idea of power that demands a terrible price.
Section 2. The Seven-Branched Sword. Now, not all legendary weapons are malevolent tools of doom. Let's pivot to a very different historical artifact.
The physical reality of this sword is honestly fascinating. The actual artifact is exactly 74.9 centimeters long. It's forged of iron and features 6 branch-like protrusions along the central blade, giving it 7 points in total. And what's incredible is that this isn't just a myth. The original sword has been kept safely at Isanokami Jingu in Nara Prefecture for over 1,000 years. It's a tangible piece of history that still captures our imagination today.
And the writing on the side of the blade is a totally crucial source for historians. The gold inlay proudly proclaims, "The sword was made of 100 times hardened steel. Using the sword repels 100 enemy soldiers." So it was meant to act as an immense ceremonial power and a warding force. It wasn't actually meant for practical combat. Rather,
And this brilliantly illustrates its massive legacy in modern gaming and pop culture. Because of its striking, unique silhouette and mythic origins, the seven-branched sword appears everywhere. You literally see it wielded by the divine dragon in Sekiro, it pops up as the death ritual spear in Elden Ring, it's Hinamori Momo's Tobuyume in Bleach, and the Thunderbrand in Fire Emblem. Game designers clearly love tapping into the aesthetic and the deep, resonant lore of these ancient artifacts.
Section 3. Curses as a cost. So, bringing our focus back to your tabletop RPG, how do we apply these epic narratives to our own game design?
Let's look at this comparison. A trap curse, like that potion of poison we talked about, is purely negative. It's a cheap gotcha moment. But a cost curse, like the classic Berserker Axe, is entirely different. The Berserker Axe offers fantastic combat power, but it carries a severe, known risk of the wielder going into a frenzy and attacking their own friends. This forces a strategic cost-benefit analysis. Much like Tyrfing did for Svafrlami and Heidrek, the wielder has to decide if the incredible power is worth the terrifying danger.
The secret is, when you give a cursed item a significant benefit, players will actually consider embracing the cost. Take the Belt of Dwarvenkind. It gives you great stats, sure, but you might suddenly grow a full beard and fail a daily save that prevents you from telling a lie. Or what about Demon Armor? It grants excellent combat benefits, but it fuses to your body and actually penalizes your rolls when you're fighting demons. These items create incredibly engaging choices. Players might willingly trade their safety or just their character's convenience in exchange for raw power.
Section 4. Foreshadowing the curse. Because let's be honest, even a cost-based curse can feel frustrating without proper warning signs. So here are some highly actionable ways to foreshadow an item's true nature. Step 1. Spread tavern rumors before the players ever find it. Let them hear whispers of the tragic doom that befell the previous owners, maybe a chieftain who couldn't stop slaying until everyone around him was dead. Step 2. Present the item suspiciously. If an amazing magic sword is sitting all alone on a dais, bathed in a weird bluish light in a heavily plundered dungeon, your players' spider senses should definitely be tingling. Step 3. When they use the Identify spell, you don't have to give away the whole curse. Just hint at it. Tell them they sense a wicked intent or a slight defect of design woven into the magic. That way, when the curse finally hits, the players feel a sense of dreaded realization rather than just resentment.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is the concept of a transparent curse. Take a homebrew sword called Three Woes. Its inscription literally reads, "Woe and woe to my wielder's foe, and woe to the hand that holds me." It transparently promises to unleash a terrible curse on the user, but only once when they are in a truly life-threatening situation. By letting the player know exactly what they're dealing with up front, you create massive suspense. Every single time they swing that sword, they're sweating, wondering if this is the moment the ultimate price comes due.
The crucial point is this. A good cursed item isn't about tricking your players. Rooted in rich mythological traditions, a well-designed cursed item creates tension, it builds narrative depth, and it forces memorable gameplay choices. It asks the player to look at their character sheet, look at the unfolding story, and make a really hard choice. Is the power worth the ultimate price? By looking at the tragedy of Tyrfing or the strategic cost of the Berserker Axe, you now have the exact blueprints to elevate the magic items in your own campaigns. So I'm going to leave you with this final, provocative thought to consider before your next session. Rather than a simple trap, what irresistible, cost-driven, cursed artifact will you unleash on your players next?